Donald Trump's brother recently passed away. His name was Robert Trump. Have you ever heard about this guy? Did you even know he existed before this? If you are like me, you probably didn't even know that Donald had other siblings. Not because it's uncommon, but because the public doesn't know that much about anybody else who's not part of Donald's immediate family. Donald Trump has branded his last name and put a very unique tone to it. This leaves us with the important question of, who the f*** is Robert Trump again? Dig into the life of the youngest sibling of the Trump family. The first of the siblings to be born was Marianne, then Frederick, followed by our famous Donald, then Elizabeth, and finally Robert. Often referred as the Good Trump, Robert Stewart Trump was born in Queens, New York City on August 26, 1948. Their dad Fred started their financial empire by building houses and real estate. From this, we can deduce that he grew up in a very comfortable financial background. And adding that he was the youngest of all the siblings, he was pretty pampered for sure. When it comes to education, he attended Boston University and was an avid soccer player, which gave him the MVP title and was captain of the team in 1969. One of the many things that we can see that differentiates him from his brother. After graduating, he managed the Brooklyn portion of his father's real estate empire and got involved in the family business. For instance, in the 80s, Donald put Robert in charge of the Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City. But then the casino started having some problems with the slot machine financial controls, and according to a former Trump Organization executive named Jack O'Donnell, Donald lost it on him and humiliated Robert in front of everyone in that meeting, putting the blame on him. Although the reactions of everyone was different, because some people agreed and others didn't, Robert just calmly stood up, walked to the door, opened it, closed it behind him, and never to return back to work with his brother ever again. This never really affected his personal relationship with his brother though. Robert was never the person to hold grudges. Even Donald says in his book, The Art of Deal, quote, "Robert gets along with almost everyone, which is great for me, since I sometimes have to be the bad guy," end quote. Yeah, no kidding, considering that Donald used to bully Robert growing up, and then in their adult life, Donald referred to him as his best friend more than once on many different occasions. In 1984, Robert married Blaine Trump, whose complete name is longer than Dumbledore's, but here, I will give it a shot. Martha Lindley Blaine Beer Trump. Wow, that was a mouthful. Who spent most of her childhood living between Florida and Alabama, and her teenage years in Japan because of her father's job. They met in a charity event where Robert was deeply attracted to her and was consistent in his pursuit to win her heart until she said yes. Robert didn't mind that she had a 5-year-old kid named Christopher, whom he adopted and later became his only son and heir of his legacy. He raised Christopher like his own, gave him his last name, and helped him get into the real estate family business, leading Christopher to work in the White House for the Clinton administration. He had a great life, but always tried to avoid being in the public eye until the media turned his life upside down. When they caught wind of the fact that his 25-year marriage to Blaine came to a crashing end in 2007, Blaine tragically found out of his secret affair with his secretary Anne-Marie Palin. He managed to keep most of his affairs private. However, he just couldn't keep this one out of the rumor mill. He later divorced Blaine and finally married Palin in March of 2020. He was described as non-flamboyant, classy, and a dignified guy by his community. People would even say that if it were not for his last name, they would doubt his blood connection with the Trump family. Despite all this, he always loved and supported his family, especially Donald with his political career. In an interview in 2006, he expressed he supported Donald, quote, 1000%. And you know, Robert, he was a man of his word. In 2019, he requested a temporary restraining order on one of his nieces, Mary Trump, daughter to Fred Trump, their older brother who had passed away due to alcoholism. He did this because of her new book, Too Much and Never Enough: How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man, referring to Donald Trump. To Robert's dismay, his efforts to stop the book's release failed, and it was published in the summer of 2020. Robert confessed his disappointment, and this incident damaged his relationship with his niece forever. Even after his death, Mary hasn't spoken out publicly to address her uncle, and most people think she never will. In her book, Mary describes many perturbing anecdotes about the family and its members, like the time when her grandfather Fred died and her uncle Robert allegedly forced her and her brother to take a settlement in the legal battle over her grandfather's will. She describes how he threatened her and her brother, stating that if they didn't sign the papers, the family battle would bankrupt one of the companies that they had inherited a stake of and give them the bill. We will never know the veracity of these allegations, but what we can know for sure is that Robert was loved by his family and respected by his community. Even the press respected his private life, to a certain extent. He kept his personal life under wraps until the end as much as he could, but in the last few months of his life, he was in and out of hospitals until he finally passed on Saturday, August 15, 2020. In his natal New York City, where President Donald Trump and other members of his family went to visit him, a day before where he was hospitalized, but his cause of death was not provided. We can deduct that Robert was very different from what the name Trump is related to, being a prominent example of how it is up to you to make a difference in your life and follow your own path. Even by having all the means in the world, he chose to have a quiet, simple life instead of following the path of his older brother who enjoys being the center of attention and enjoys the power that all of the lights give him. All of the lights? Wait, that's a song, right? Who sings that?
It's Kanye West. Duh.
Who the is Kanye West again?
Enchanté.